Matthew Arnold's Touchstone method, as outlined in his essay The Study of Poetry, is a comparative approach to literary criticism designed to evaluate the quality of poetry. Arnold proposes that critics and readers should use exemplary lines or passages from the works of great poets, such as Homer, Dante, Shakespeare, or Milton, as benchmarks, or touchstones, to assess the merit of other poetic works. Arnold draws on the historical meaning of a touchstone, a piece of jasper used to test the purity of gold by comparing it to a standard. Similarly, in poetry, Arnold suggests that certain lines or passages from the works of universally recognized great masters serve as touchstones to gauge the quality of other poems. By keeping these exemplary lines in mind, readers can compare them to the poetry they are evaluating to determine whether it possesses the same high seriousness, emotional depth, and artistic excellence. The method is rooted in Arnold's belief that great poetry is distinguished by its ability to sustain, console, and interpret life, possessing a timeless and universal quality. He argues that poetry of the highest order is not only aesthetically superior but also morally and intellectually profound, akin to a substitute for religion in its ability to elevate human experience. Here are some of the ways in which the touchstone method works. To judge a poem's quality, a critic should compare it to selected passages from the works of acknowledged masters. Even a single line or short quotation from these poets can serve as a touchstone. For example, Arnold references Milton's lines from Paradise Lost. "And courage never to submit or yield, and what is else not to be overcome." These lines are offered as an example of noble sentiment, though Arnold notes that some might find fault with their diction or flow. The key is that these lines embody qualities of greatness that can be used to measure other works. The touchstone method emphasizes the emotional and intellectual resonance of poetry. If a poem evokes the same depth of feeling or moves us as the touchstone lines do, it is considered a work of high quality. If it falls short, it is deemed inferior. Arnold warns against two flawed approaches to judging poetry. Overvaluing a poem because of its historical significance or context, and judging a poem based on personal taste or bias. The touchstone method aims to provide a more objective real estimate by grounding evaluation in the timeless qualities of classic poetry. Arnold suggests that readers should always have lines from great poets in their minds as a reference point. By applying these touchstones to other works, readers can discern whether a poem achieves the same level of excellence or falls into the category of the shoddy, showy, or insincere. Arnold, a classicist at heart, admired the works of ancient Greek, Roman, and select modern poets as models of excellence. He believed these poets set a standard that modern writers should aspire to. For example, he might compare a modern poet's work to a passage from Homer or Dante to determine its merit. This reflects his conviction that great poetry has a universal and enduring currency that transcends time and cultural shifts. Arnold himself acknowledges that the touchstone method has limitations. Comparing isolated lines or passages may not fully capture the total impression of a poem. Arnold emphasizes that a poem's overall effect is crucial, suggesting that the method could be extended to compare entire poems, not just fragments. Arnold's insistence on comparing all poetry to the highest excellence risks undervaluing lesser but still worthwhile poetry. As the text notes, not all hills should be Alps, meaning that minor poetry can have its own merit without matching the grandeur of the classics. The choice of touchstone passages is subjective and depends on the critic's judgment of what constitutes greatness, which could lead to bias. Arnold's touchstone method is not just a tool for criticism but also a call to preserve the value of great literature in an era of increasing vulgarization and cheapening of literary standards due to a growing mass readership. He believes that the instinct of self-preservation in humanity ensures the enduring relevance of high-quality poetry, which resists charlatanism and maintains its eternal honor. The method also serves as an invaluable aid to appreciating all forms of art by encouraging comparisons between works of varying quality, masterpieces versus lesser works, sincere versus insincere. This comparative approach helps readers develop a refined sense of taste and discernment. To illustrate, Arnold might take a line like Dante's in La sua volonté di nostra pace, which translates to "in his will is our peace" as a touchstone. A critic would then compare this line's profound simplicity and spiritual depth to a modern poem. If the modern poem evokes a similar sense of truth and emotional weight, it would be considered a work of high quality. If it feels shallow or overly ornate by comparison, it would fall short. In conclusion, Matthew Arnold's touchstone method is a practical and comparative approach to literary criticism that uses exemplary lines from great poets as benchmarks to evaluate the quality of other poetry. It emphasizes the timeless qualities of high seriousness, emotional resonance, and artistic excellence, while guarding against subjective or historically biased judgments. Though limited by its focus on fragments and its high standard of excellence, the method remains a valuable tool for discerning the alive, vital, and sincere in poetry, reinforcing Arnold's belief in the enduring power of great literature.